right, folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys presents Tales of the Trophies, the Big Tens. Oh, boy, I'm screwing this up, man. It's our last episode of the season. I just botched it. I absolutely botched it. You know what? You guys know what it is. Grab some whiskey, drink it up. Big 12 trophy time. Mike, EJ, how's it going, pal?
It is going great. We are double dipping today due to the holiday season. Yeah. So we had just recorded the Sunflower Showdown, State Showdown.
Are we just flustered because this is our last episode? We're sad about it? Like that's our last trophy of the season.
Our last trophy, yes. So we're double dipping here just because we are coming up on Thanksgiving and both of us will be traveling to see out of state family. So yes. So it is, I feel great. I feel sad. I feel excited to see how this season just shakes out. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see how our pick'em shapes out, to see if we will be, if the podcast will win again like last year, or if
I don't feel very good after last week. I mean, I'll be real honest about that. Going 0-3, like that's, I had a decent week. Actually, it's the second week in a row where I was right back where I started after the end of it. I mean, I have so many plays. Second week in a row where I'm right back where I started. So I had some winners, just didn't pick them for the pod. So what are you gonna do?
Feel like that's like the worst feeling is I had a few. I loved the slate last week, and I had a few good ones that really panned out, like Purdue. I bet on Purdue. I bet on Central Florida. But
me too.
Didn't pick them for the pod and had a couple of stinkers there with BYU. There's nothing worse than when you tune into a game and you just know, like you typically know, right? Either way.
Yeah.
If you're especially if you're taking like a home dog, you either know they're going to be in this game until the end and you like your chances, or you just know I fucked up. And I knew immediately with BYU I fucked up because that was a shit show of a beginning. And then you could just feel Tennessee and Missouri. Like I just knew I was on the wrong side of that from the get-go, just by the way Missouri looked.
Yeah, I stayed away from that one. I liked Mizzou, but it was like, well, I like him enough to bet him against Tennessee. Like, that was, it feels unnatural. It feels unnatural.
It just felt like a great spot. Tennessee had been stopping the run. Missouri had been relying on the run, and Missouri had just lost a heartbreaker in a very physical game against Georgia. So while I do think Missouri is good, and we kind of flagged them at the beginning of the year as, not necessarily a spoiler of Georgia, but we did think that they could potentially be the second best SEC East team this year. And they've looked great. And they looked really great against Tennessee. So just one of those things. But why don't we kind of started to do this kind of organically in between recording these episodes. But we thought that in lieu of trivia, since we have done so many Texas-based trivia this year already, that we would just kind of do a little recap of this season. Just because it's been a great one. It's been I will say for me, it was a shockingly good season because I didn't necessarily have too high of hopes, to be honest with you, but I was pleasantly surprised. So why don't you kind of talk us through what we've gone through?
So I will. And you know what? This I'm just looking back and doing some statistics, some statistics, but simple
stats.
Statistics. Yeah, simple analytics. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So in the Big Ten, we had 5 trophies. The Big Ten season, we had 5 trophies that ranked in the top, that we ranked as high, right? So that includes Cyhawk, $5 Bits of Broken Chair, Paul Bunyan, Floyd of Rosedale, Paul Bunyan's axe. Right? SEC, we had. Holy cow. Really? SEC. Oh, okay. Sorry. It was my bad. SEC, we had 4 that we ranked in the top tier. So that would be the McCullough Trophy, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, the Egg Bowl, and the Iron Bowl. Then, but the key thing about those SEC ones, we didn't have very many that were like 5s as far as the looks go of the trophy. Like that was a rough season. That was a rough season. SEC, do better. But then the Big 12, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 1 remaining top tier trophies, which includes the Victory Bell, the Iron Skillet, the Indian War Drum, the Red River Rivalry, and the Old Wagon Wheel, back-to-back 5s. And we also had this season, I'm pretty sure just like looking, I mean, I could go in and do the math, but we had the highest aggregate by far. Like, yeah, I mean, I think on average, these trophies ranked way higher because in the Big Ten, we had a bunch of lows, right? Like the Old Oaken bucket. I think I was a little harsh on that bucket. The Land of Lincoln. Whoa. George Jewett, Heartland, the Governor's Victory Belt. Whoa. And then the SEC, yeah, I mean, we had a bunch of a lot of mid ones, a couple low tier ones. We had a lot of mid ones though. And then this one though, we only had 1 low tier trophy, which was the telephone trophy. Everything else has been, in the mid tier. So it's been a really solid season. And we also had our highest ranked trophy ever, a composite score of 4.81, the Red River Rivalry. So it's been the Big 12 really showed up to play this season for us. So that's been pretty exciting.
And I will say, you do have to take into account that we needed to bring in some of the newcomers to the Big 12 as well. So some of these trophies aren't necessarily Big 12 to Big 12 opponents. I think there might be the Victory Bell was not one.
It was Cincinnati, in Miami of Ohio.
So I will say overall, because I think it's pretty well known, like when it comes to rivalry trophies, the Big Ten reigns supreme as far as just the number of them. Most of them are really historic and have been around for such a long time. And I mean, and that's reflective by the protected rivalries, right? So you look at the Big 12, I think the Big 12 protected 5 total rivalries moving forward. I think Wisconsin had 4 by itself. It's way more in the Big Ten. And then the SEC has a lot of rivalries, but not necessarily trophies to go along with them. So we kind of stumbled across like the Egg Bowl and the Iron Bowl are probably pretty high on the rivalry aspect of it, but probably not higher on the look. So but it's been interesting. But I would not have guessed that our to date favorite rivalry and trophy would have been out of the Big 12. I would have thought for sure, at least for me, it would have been in the Big 10. But that's why we do this. And and could we be outdone in season 4 and potentially season 5? I think there's some gems left.
I think season 5 is going to be if that could be our best of the rest. What's next season? We're going to do ACC and maybe some Pac-12, old Pac-12.
Yeah, so I think what we'll do is season 4 will be, because there wasn't enough for the ACC or the Pac-12. Now that Pac-12 is not even going to be existing, I think we'll do the best of the rest Power 5. So just go through all the rest of the Power 5 trophies that pique our interest. And then season 5 will be all of the group of 5 trophies and all the gems there. And even maybe potentially some of the division, not even Division 1A, maybe some Division 1B, because is that what technically Montana State is? Are both of them?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, they're championship series.
Okay.
They're FCS. They're
Okay.
championship.
FCS.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We were
yeah.
introduced to a doozy
The
there.
Brawl of the Wild. I can't wait for that. That was the first thing I was going to say. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, so we have some exciting things here. Not to mention,
by the way, the Brawl of the Wild is similar to what I want the Cascade Clash to look like. Just the Cascade Clash should be made of wood. But I have a different idea for the Cascade Clash now, where it's just a big log. We just get a big old log and we paint that sucker green and purple. And that's I don't know. I'm workshopping some things on the Cascade, or a chainsaw. Though that would kind of be stealing from Oregon State. Well, I don't know. We'll workshop it. We'll figure some things out.
Yes. So we will be having an upcoming series that we're really excited about. We don't have a name for it. You've kind of already guessed just by what we've talked about specifically with the Cascade Clash
Cascade
Clash between Oregon and Washington. But we not only have we talked about all of the great existing trophies in all of college football, but especially with college football realignment, and honestly, just some of these really historic rivalries don't have trophies, and we don't find that acceptable.
Nope,
so
like
we will definitely we probably have to first come up with the name of the series, but to be determined. But we do have upcoming where we will be creating rivalry trophies for some of these trophies, or some of these trophies for some of these rivalries. Oof. And we are legitimately going to try and get these made. $5 bits of a broken chair esque. Like we are going to be those guys that come up with a great idea, get both fan bases on board, get some local business owners involved, and we are going to get one of these over the finish line. I am determined. We already have 5 in our head, and there are plenty of more.
I think
to be thought through,
especially thanks to generative AI. We can just put something into a Gen AI model, and spit out a picture of a nice little trophy. I think so. I think we have to work on our prompt engineering a little bit, but I think we'll be able to get it done.
I do too. We also have to think about how to best podcast this, because it's going to be a very visual thing. So we got to find the best way.
That's why we need to work with Gen AI. That's why we need to find, choose an open source model, and we'll workshop it. Maybe we can do that. We'll see how that goes. We'll try it once and see what gets spit out. But yeah.
Because I do like the idea of us kind of coming in with ideas, but bouncing them off in real time to come up with something. And then maybe whatever that thing is, doing a little bit of refining to get the final, product.
Yeah. If we have any artists in the audience that would be willing to just live sketch this with us, that would probably be, I think I'd be a little demanding. So maybe not. Yeah. So,
but stay tuned for that. And then also stay tuned. So this will release the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And then we will come back. We will take a week off and come back after championship weekend to then talk about our college football preview, and then where we are at the bracket, how we did with who got in, who the winners and losers were, and then what our bracket and our competition looks like leading into the playoff, and see. I know my champion's already dead, but we'll see where we're looking and where hopefully there isn't already a winner before the playoff is played, but you never know. Guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we get to the trophy that we're talking about today? So this is the Chancellors Spurs game, and this is played between the Texas Longhorns and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. So What are your guesses to what this trophy looks like?
I've either seen these or I just know what they
Okay.
look like. I don't know if I've seen
There's
them
a
on the
decent
field,
chance.
but like if they're not golden Spurs, then what are we doing here? Like it's just a golden pair of Spurs, probably with UT with Longhorn symbol and Texas Tech symbol on them. That's what I have to imagine. I feel like I've seen them, but if I haven't seen them, like that's what they are.
Okay. We'll see. Hopefully they're not going to
Feel pretty good
disappoint.
about that.
All right, so a little bit of the history of the rivalry. The first matchup was in 1928 between these two schools. Texas won 12-0, and Texas won 15 out of the first 16 meetings and 20 out of the first 23 meetings between these two schools. So overall, Texas leads the series 54 wins to 18 losses.
Yikes.
And like I had mentioned, that the first meeting did take place in 1928. The Longhorns and the Red Raiders only faced each other 9 times between 1928 and 1960. But since 1960, both schools have played annually as members of the Southwest Conference through 1995, and then from 1996 on as Big 12 members. Obviously, that is going to change as of next year when Texas leaves for the SEC, but we will get to that in a little bit. If my computer decides not to freeze on me, great. Okay. Why don't you scroll down? Tell us whether they disappointed you or not.
Nope, that's it. I feel like do they bring these on the field or are they in this little glass case all the time?
I believe they're in this glass case all the time.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, regardless, they are Spurs. They are golden Spurs. There is a UT symbol on them. I guess I like that. I was gonna say I don't know if I'd like the Bevo head better, but it's pretty good. And then the Texas Tech symbol. They're nice. They're fancy looking Spurs and a nice little glass case on a nice little red velvet bed. Ah, very fancy. Very, very posh looking pair of Spurs. Yeah, they're beautiful.
And then I'm trying to, so they're in a glass case on red velvet. I'm trying to read. So it says Spurs.
Yeah, handmade by Lusky.
Yeah.
Handmade by, I don't know. Presented to the Texas Tech University by Lusky's Western Wear.
And, something Wholesales Club and
Commerce. Sam's Wholesale Club.
Yeah.
And Committee for Champions.
Yes.
Okay.
There it is.
There it is.
Some Spurs. Let me tell you about them. So they came about in 1996. That was when the Spurs were first awarded. And this was also the first season that both teams played in the Big 12 Conference. The Longhorns traveled to Lubbock to play the Red Raiders, and in commemoration of their first year that both university systems held a chancellor position, the tradition of awarding a traveling trophy coined to the Chancellors Spurs to the winner of the annual rivalry game began. And the Longhorns took the gold and silver Spurs back to Austin after beating the Red Raiders 38-32. So that's why they did it. Little fact for you. And then I'll go through. There were 2 pretty famous games that came up when researching this game. So in 2005, this was the National Game of the Week, featuring a highly anticipated clash between 2 undefeated teams. So number 2 Texas and number 10 Texas Tech. This was unfortunately a blowout game and was not a good game. The Longhorns won. So Texas held the Red Raiders' top-ranked offense to a mere 17 points, while the Longhorn offense managed to put up 52 points. I think you'll remember a little guy named Vince Young. He had 2 passing touchdowns to receiver Billy Pittman and set a career record in receiving yards. Pittman did. And running back Selvin Young also scored 2 touchdowns. And this game marked the first time Texas had gone 7-0 since 1983. And then in 2008, among the most jaw-clenching, heart-wrenching defeats in history of Texas football, the Longhorns lost in Lubbock in a 39-33 Red Raider victory. Going into the game, Texas was ranked number 1, while Texas Tech was seeded number 5. During the first half, Texas Tech dominated the game on both sides of the ball. And at halftime, the score was 22-6. And with 1 minute and 29 seconds left in the game, Texas took the lead for the first time, 33-32. Now, these names will really get you going. With only 8 seconds remaining on the clock, Texas Tech quarterback Graham Harrell connected with wide receiver Michael Crabtree.
Yeah.
Managed to barely make it into the end zone with 1 second left to go. This was the first time that ESPN's College Game Day aired from Lubbock. And it was also the first time under the reign of Mac Brown that the Longhorns lost on the final offensive play of a game.
Was Cliff Kingsbury the coach at Tech at the time? Yeah, I think so.
Was he?
I
Okay,
think
he
so.
might have been.
Yeah. What year? Sorry.
2008.
Yeah, Kingsbury was coach.
This was the 5th most viewed regular season college football game in the history of ABC and was tagged ESPN's Classics Game of the Week and declared the 2008 College Football Game of the Year, marking the 500th win in the history of Texas Tech football. And it is considered the most memorable matchup between the two schools and arguably one of the greatest games in college football history. And unfortunately,
oh no, Kingsbury was not there. Kingsbury didn't show up till 2013.
Okay,
he was at Houston in 08. Okay, huh?
Who was the coach?
Wow. I don't know. Let's see.
2008 Red Raiders. Who was it?
Oh, Leach.
Oh,
yeah.
The air raid.
Yeah.
The man himself.
Yeah.
Should have known. So unfortunately, this is where the research ends. And this is one that really frustrated me because for all intents and purposes, this is Texas's biggest in-state rival. It is Texas Tech's number 1 rival from reading up the Dallas Morning News and other reports. And there just isn't a ton of information about this rivalry as a whole. I want to believe, obviously, we know what the Red River rivalry is to Texas and Oklahoma. I think it's one of those ones where it's clearly a rivalry between the two schools, but I don't know how heated or hated it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just seemed, obviously they have the trophy, and I had mentioned we'll get to it later, but we might as well get to it now. They did announce back in 2021 when Texas said that they were going to the SEC. Now, this is according to Brian Davis, who at the time, and could still be, was the senior manager of crisis comms at Texas.
Crisis comms.
Yeah. That Texas had agreed in principle to play Texas Tech in an annual non-conference football game once Texas leaves for the SEC. And the Tech AD Kirby Hokut told AJ Don Williams at AJ_Don Williams that we've spoken about a 20 to 25 year commitment.
Wow. So they definitely,
this is going nowhere.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, like that just made me hopeful, but also annoyed me because there just wasn't enough publicly available on this rivalry. So, Hey, anyone, either game day, does it really have to be game day to have to go there to tell us about this? I feel like one of you writers from either of these schools need to help us break down what this rivalry means to you guys, because it seems like it's an awesome, very unique trophy to award, and I just wish we knew a little bit more about it.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, so why don't we get to our rankings then?
All right. I mean, looks 5. That's a solid pair of Spurs there. As far as history of the trophy goes, man, it's tough because I don't want to conflate it with looks. Because, like, I don't like, there's not a ton of history, but like, how much history do you need when you do it right the first time. Let's go with like and they're good. Like it definitely represents the rivalry well. Chancellors Spurs too. That seems cool. Let's go 3.5. Rivalry itself. I mean, to your point, like you weren't able to find a lot of stuff, but clearly, if they're planning to play this as a non-conference matchup for the next 25 years, it does mean something. But the lack of documentation, that hurts it. So I'm going to say 3.5. Competitiveness. I mean, obviously Texas just smacks the crap out of them, but when Texas Tech plays well, they obviously it's an exciting game. So I'm going to say a 2. And like, I mean, I gotta put this in the high top tier. Like I gotta do it. Like they're just too cool to be in the mid tier for me. So
yeah, see that's something that I feel like I've struggled with the last couple seasons. Is like, how do we rectify tiering these? Because some of these have such a stark difference between the looks and either how they came about or the rivalry itself, like how heated it is or how competitive it is. Like, I feel like there's too many times that they don't match each other. And I think we tend to lean toward the looks. So I don't know. I feel like we need to suss that out in future seasons, exactly how we want to.
I definitely weigh the looks more like that. Okay. Like the trophy itself, I will admit that like I weigh that more for sure. Yeah, I mean that's my own personal scale. Like if you have a great like and that's how I'll tier all of these, right? Like if something about you stands out that is so exceptional, like I really like these Spurs. Like this is cool for Texas. It's great. Like it's such a good trophy. It's unique. It looks cool. It's very Texas. Like that for me, just like it catapults it up. It's probably like it's not as high as like the Red River rivalry, right? There might be some other things that we talked about this season that I wouldn't put as high as like on aggregate, even if the looks of this are better. But man, it does a lot for it for me. So
okay, the looks for me are a 5. With you, it's hard to describe how intricate like the design of them are. So I know we kind of said it's gold. I guess it's technically gold and silver. It's tough with our pictures to tell exactly the color, but it sounds like it's both gold and silver, and it has the two schools, UT and TT logos. But there is just like a hand design around all of that just makes it look great.
Yeah,
and I mean, you just hit the nail on the head as far as it being so fitting for two schools from Texas. It is unique as well. And the word chancellor just doesn't get used a ton. So I think that also makes it like badass as well. So it's an easy 5. I'd say the history of it, I mean, they're not very old, only 96. They only came about because the schools had a chancellor and I guess they moved to the Big 12. So it's like, I don't know, that to me isn't super great, unfortunately. So I'm going to go 2.5 there. I just feel like it seems like they just kind of, I don't know. It just seems like they kind of randomly came about it. They stuck the hell out of the landing, but I feel like there wasn't anything like cool. It's just like, oh yeah, why don't we just do something for the Chancellors? So I don't know. Just not as impressive to me.
Give it to the people. Yeah. Okay, I get that. Yeah, something more for the people. Why we care about the Chancellors?
Right.
It's a cool name, the Chancellor Spurs. Yeah,
it's a cool name, and like I said, they nailed it. I wish that it was like from the 60s. Like I think that would have made it cool. I don't know. It just seems like it kind of stinks that it is. I mean, it's not really newer anymore, I guess, but newer in relation to some of these other trophies. But yeah, so the rivalry itself, again, like I'm with you, 3.5. I feel like it's probably higher, but we just don't have enough documentation. But that is a good signal that the fact that, I mean, even Texas going to the SEC that's a hell of a non-conference game, right?
Yeah,
To
yeah,
put on your schedule every year. So
yeah.
when you're likely only going to get, two, maybe three. So, um, so that makes it at least a 3.5 to me. And then competitiveness, I'm with you. It's a two. It's low. Texas Tech did win last year, but it's been pretty few and far between. And judging, I mean, it is Texas, and they have broken our hearts so many times. But the trajectory of both schools still, Texas has the resources that the guys out in Lubbock just don't have. So,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so I mean, overall, I mean, I'm with you. I really think we need to have more explicit rules about how we're tiering these. But I'm going to go top just because it's beautiful. The rest of it is disappointing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that makes it. That's our first season with six in the top tier. Feels right. I mean, it feels right based on if you had told me this would be the case before the season started, I'd say no. I'd say that doesn't feel right, but it feels right here. For
Yeah.
sure, highest aggregate scores across the board. Yeah, it's been a good season.
I will say it's like, I think the Big Ten is like the conference of rivalries, because arguably the biggest one doesn't even have a trophy, right? With Michigan, Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, because it's just the let's just say that is the conference of total rivalries for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the SEC is probably the conference of like heated, meaningful rivalries, right? I feel like the Big Ten has a ton of like Indiana Purdue's and Illinois Northwesterns, where those are meaningful to them, but not to anyone else. Iowa, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, like none of those really mean anything to us, but they just have so many heated ones, again, reflective by the protected rivalries that are with the new realignment. And then I feel like this one was like the conference of like great looking trophies. I think it was like it is just where the other two were really focused. Big Ten has a lot of good goofy ones and just a ton of them. The SEC has a lot of heated rivalries, but only a couple great trophies. And this one is less heated rivalries, but so many great looking trophies.
Yes. Agreed. Strong agree there.
And I mean, there's nothing I would change. I think these are it.
Same. The only thing I would say is let's Tecovas boots are based out of Austin, Texas. Let's maybe give a pair of boots for everyone on the Wayne team.
Yeah. I was thinking like a way to wear them, or like it. I think if I remember correctly, the trophy, I don't even know. Oh, this is actually okay. This might change. Sorry, I probably should have added this. I can't confirm this, but I'm call it 70% sure that I read that these are only passed between the presidents or the chancellors. I do not believe. I know. I do not believe these make it on the field.
Like that.
I think these are just like sent to each school. I think
it's a little elitist for me. I don't like that.
Let me just take a quick look see, because
Go ahead.
I would have.
Well, then let's get the players some boots, man. Like, that seems like a golden sponsorship opportunity right there. Like, every player gets some. It's like for bowl games. In bowl games, everyone gets some swag. For this game, everyone on the wing team gets a pair of boots. That'd be dope as hell. I'd love that. I'm thinking about getting some Tecovas boots, to be honest. There's a store near here.
Yeah, so this is what I did see. Let's see what this. Yeah. So it was a tweet in 2021, and it was the Chancellor of Texas Tech tweeting at the Chancellor of Texas, and it was just wanted to make sure you have our shipping address with like a cowboy hat. So I do believe that this is just something that goes to the Chancellors. I'm sure it ends up. I hope it goes beyond their office and at least into like athletic, the football thing. So yeah,
That's
I don't
tough.
like that.
That's
I don't
tough.
like that.
No.
So that's the difference. This needs to be a trophy for all trophies should be trophies for the actual people participating in the game, right?
Yes.
It should be for the players, it should be for the coaches, and then there should be an ability for fans and students to see it and have access to it.
Let the Minister of Culture wear those things around. Let McConaughey wheel around in those bad boys,
So that's what I would change.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so this game will be played on, let's see, this is Black Friday. Yes, so on Black Friday, which is the Friday of this week that this is being released, and it is in Austin. It is at 7 p.m. and it is on ABC. Because of this, I don't know what the spread is going to be because we are too far out. If I had to guess, Texas is going to be double-digit favorites, barring anything crazy.
I'll probably take the Horns. Breaking news.
Oh.
Georgia jumps Ohio State for number 1 in CFP rankings.
Sure, that makes sense. I will say we are looking down the barrel.
Mizzou's up to number 9, by the way. But yeah,
by the time this gets out, I mean, I guess it won't really make a difference. But the best football game of the year is looking like it's going to end up being played in Atlanta between the Crimson Tide and the Bulldogs. Shocker. We definitely didn't think that was going to be the case beginning of the year, but both teams are really rounding into form. Beck has got the experience he needed.
Oh, they looked real good.
Back. Yeah,
they looked real. Both Alabama and Georgia, they showed up and they looked real good this week. So
and Alabama has figured out the best way to use Milroe and finally kind of understand what they're doing on offense. And on defense, it was always pretty good this year, but they finally are figuring out what they do on offense. So that's looking like quite the clash here. So we shall see. But yeah, I'm thinking Texas. I think if this is going to be to clinch getting into the Big 12 championship, still have playoff hopes. Ewers is going to be healthier than he currently is. Hopefully, yeah, I think it'll probably be double digits and it'll likely be a cover for them. Okay, so that's going to do it for us this week. Follow us on Instagram at whiskers.whiskies and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our last 2 weeks of Saturday morning pick'em posts. This will also be the last week for the Risk It for the Biscuit. This could be an opportunity if someone is so inclined. This Friday slate, the Black Friday slate, is going to be about 15 or so games. So this will be the biggest one. Still have a ton of Saturday games as well, but yeah, this will be a very interesting week. And then championship week, we will be picking games, but we'll not be doing biscuits. So it's coming down to it. Also check out our new website, whiskerswhiskies.com. And that is where our college football preview bracket is at. And that is important to take a look at because we will be revisiting it very shortly after this. And it is also where our Ultimate Sports Travelog is located. So join us in 2 weeks when we recap championship week and see how our preseason picks turned out. For Mike, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything is bad, but too much good whiskey is barely enough.
Cheers, boys.